Ciao ragazzi, my name is Anthony. Thank you very much for tuning into Worldwide. There's a lot of nice comments coming in here. It's been a very busy last few days for myself and the gentleman to my right, your left, however you're viewing it. I would like to welcome friend of the channel and rival fan, Alberto Donberto from his awesome AllJuveCast. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, brother. Thanks again. It's always good to be here. I know we hate each other's clubs, but the respect is there for the grind we put into this passion project, eh? And I like, we got similar styles in the sense that we don't drink the Kool-Aid and we don't hold back when it's time to call our clubs out. So there's always the respect in that aspect for sure, man.
Oh, yeah. It's really, really good to have you on, man, and really good to see some people in the chat. We've got 13 people with us right now. Make sure you like the video if you do come in. And as always, let me know if you are new. How you going to the channel members? Mattia, Christian Cartello, Ian Kerr is here as well. Massimo, so thank you very much to all the channel members. I'll get to your comments soon because I'm only going to stick around for about 25 minutes with Alberto today. I really, really wanted to get his reaction to not only his own, but our Champions League draw as well. So one comment that I will pull up from our channel member, Mattia, with all the Champions League hype, I find it hard to think about this game yet, even though it's a derby of Italy. And I've made a point to bring up to Alberto just before we talk about our fixture, about how this season, Inter and Juve, we're just so reveled in our own shit. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Our rivalry's almost taken a little bit of a backseat this season. And I'm going to get to that before we talk about our clash. But just to get us started, my bro, couple of European draws overnight where the Italian teams still represented quite well. What's your reaction to this Europa League? It's a good-looking Europa League, man. Some good clubs there.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it, I think it's wide open. I think it's wide open, and it always has been. Everybody, is talking Arsenal, talking Man U and whatnot, but I think it's there for the taking. As far as Juve's concerned, for me, it's this season has been us against ourselves when it comes to on the pitch. We're our own worst enemy. And I think if we can get it right, and the last hurdle for us from where we've come, man, from the start of the year till now, we just need to figure out how to put that damn ball in the net. If we could start cranking up that goal rate and that finishing rate, I think we can actually we can come out of that side of the bracket if we get it right. And obviously, Chiesa's fitness is going to be big for us. Getting Vlahovic actually scoring more consistently, like if we can get that right, I think we can do it. But if we don't, and our D starts getting shaky, that's what I mean. Which Juve is going to show up? But I don't mind drawing Sporting, because if we got a lesser opponent, I think Juve just it's too easy for them to step off the gas, man. And this season I've seen it like so many times, and it drives me nuts. And yesterday was a prime example. You've got a 2-0 aggregate lead. You're playing Freiburg. They've got one man down, and the second half we go to sleep. Rather than making it secure, killing it off. Chiesa's goal didn't come until the 95th minute or whatever. It's a recipe for disaster. So the fact that we drew Sporting, who obviously caused a stir by knocking out Arsenal, even if it's in kicks, I actually like that. So I think it'll be better for us than a couple of the other prospects. So
how do you think the players and Allegri are reacting to this, knowing now that, you're basically 3 games away from glory in a European final? It starts to become, even though like it's not the most ideal competition, now it becomes a reality where winning it can just really project the confidence that your club and this set of players would need.
Absolutely. I mean, it's something we talked about a lot this season on our shows, is that, honestly, the gap is big time there for us in Champions League. But Europa League presented a good opportunity, especially for Juventus, who's integrating the likes of Fagioli, Miretti.
Yeah.
Now you're seeing Barnechea. This is actually really, really good for us, to be honest, with where we're at. I know you've got guys that are above that level in terms of Angel Di Maria and whatnot, but honestly, it's not a bad thing for us to get into this competition and run it. It's not the competition we want to be in. Obviously, we would love to be in the Champions League, but if we're looking at our squad realistically and what's gone down and how we started, this is actually a good prospect for us that we're in, and it would be a huge lift, definitely to Allegri. I mean, I can't think of a turnaround like this guy. People were calling for his head, and rightfully so, after the defeat to Monza early on in the season, and then we go to Retiro, and now, I mean, hey, we got you guys in the Copa semis. We've got the quarterfinals in Europa, and if you look at Sul Campo, 50 points, whatever, in table that were actually earned. Obviously, that's a whole nother story with the investigation stuff. But all in all, he's finding a way to get it done, and he has dealt with an absurd amount of issues this season, and some were not completely out of his control in terms of point deduction. So I think in that sense, he's done a really, really good job. When it comes to on the pitch, then it's a little bit of a different story, but he is working around them slowly. Like I said, we have one hurdle, but it's been our biggest hurdle this season, and that's scoring goals consistently and enough. Like when we concede, I think there's only like 3 victories this season when we concede, and that's not good enough, right? So, yeah.
No, well said. Like I was saying this with some friends in another chat the other day, that you really have to hand it to Allegri. And in hindsight, saying this now, he probably, even though he's not the right manager for you guys going forward in terms of who you guys want to be, the football you want to play, and the accolades you want to achieve, he kind of has ended up being the best person for the scenario and the situation that you're in. Because he really does encompass what it's like to have that little bit of old school Juve DNA to pass on to these new youngsters, and just to realize that, okay, we're weathering a storm here, but we need to uphold our integrity and a set of accomplishment. And, towards the back end of this season, regardless of what happens to your court case, it's actually impressive to see some of the points that you've been able to climb the table. But let's just stop right there, because I'm already feeling sick giving you too many compliments, man. But if I'm allowed to just say for a second, it does look very competitive. I'd expect, I didn't even realize this morning that Feyenoord versus Roma is actually a replay of the Conference League final last season that Roma beat them in. That's going to be a great game. But Manchester United potentially against you guys in the semi-final. How would you feel if that's how it came up?
I'd love it. And then Paul Pogba scores the winner that sees us through in his one game that he plays this season. Let's go.
This guy. If that's his only thing, you might as well just take that pay and cash it into the bank.
Yeah. Well,
go on.
Man, it is what it is. I honestly, at this point, I mean, what do you even do? Like, it's just like his body's saying no, it is what it is. And you know what? While people go crazy about it and like Juventini and they're losing their heads and bad decision this, about management, whatnot. Again, if you go back there, the Mercado was actually largely successful. And if we're looking at guys like Kostic, we picked up for cheap, who's been an absolute unit for us. Di Maria is talking about renewal. He's been great for us. He's been crucial despite his age and stuff like that. We brought in Bremer when we were losing De Ligt to Bayern and whatnot. And, it's we missed on just that one, that's okay. And Paredes was a loss too. In my opinion, we should have kept Rovella around and just stayed away from Paredes and said Mill. But there's no obligation there. He's going to go away at season's end. To be honest, in the integration of Fagioli, Meretti, all these young guys, Illing Jr., it's been not bad. If that's the only one we can really say, hey, they completely got that one wrong. All in all, it's been okay. So
Ealing Jr. scores a lot of goals for me in my Palermo career mode on FIFA 23.
There you
so,
go.
Yeah, big
The
shout
wheels,
out there.
man. Pace kills.
He does, man. Especially when I was playing against Serie B opponents. It was a bit of a cheat code there for the first season. It was an easy loan. I must have set the difficulty negotiation to really easy because it was an easy loan. What's your reaction to the Champions League quarterfinals, man? 3 Italian sides in there. Inter, for me, as a reaction, just being able to avoid City and Bayern altogether was a win for me. I would have taken Madrid with open arms, to be honest, even though they're still Madrid. I know that we're not going to get smacked up by this Madrid. We'll give them a fight. But with City and Bayern, they're playing a different code of football. And look at the blessing to every other team in the competition. They draw each other.
Yeah. Honestly, how could you not like that draw if you're any of the Italian sides? Even Benfica, they're like, how could you not like that draw? Let those guys battle it out. Like, perfect scenario. The Italian teams all know each other very, very well. You guys have obviously Benfica, and that'll be challenging. Like, Benfica is no slouch. They finished top in the group. We know that all very well at Juventus there. But that's a great draw for the Italian sides. I mean, yeah.
Even when you look at how they had to go on to draw how the semifinals will pan out, like, look at that. Either one of Madrid, City, or Bayern is going to have to knock each other out in the semifinals. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, like that's a perfect draw. And like I always love this time of the year and the conspiracies and everything like that. I always love a good little conspiracy theory. And they're talking about basically with the whole prospect of Super League and how that all went down. And then all of a sudden, they were fighting for the good of football and all this and everything. And now all of a sudden, the conspiracy theorists out there, they're putting on their tinfoil hats and they're saying, well, they needed a good underdog story. And this sets one up quite nicely. You put all the giants in one side. So it's pretty funny. But I think if I was in your shoes, I would love that draw. That's the draw. That's a perfect draw almost, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just off the top of your head, if I was to ask you now, who do you think is going through out of those 4 fixtures? Out of Madrid and Chelsea, who do you like there? Why do Chelsea do this every time they're having the worst season in English football? They just sneak their way into the final stages of this competition.
It's crazy. Honestly, I think on that side, in the semis, you're going to get Madrid and Bayern.
Yeah, I think so.
Madrid
too.
and Bayern, if I had to call it right now in the semis. On the other side, I would probably say you guys in Napoli.
Do you think this Milan side can step it up and show what, their fans always say with their chest, that they're going to be a different breed, a different animal? Do you think they can dig deep and find a way to get through to the semifinals?
I think anything can happen. I mean, let's put it this way. I wouldn't be surprised if they could do it and they get it done. But man, I don't know. Like, it's almost like this Napoli season is just unbelievable. Like, going from, where did you have them at the start of the season?
I'm pretty sure I had them 5th.
Yeah, I was the same. I had them outside of top 4 in City. Yeah, I would have never said like they're quarterfinalists, like with a strong chance of actually coming through into the final of Champions League, and here we are, right? So that's a tough one. It's a tough one, man. But my pick is that you guys will meet Napoli in the semi and Bayern and Madrid on the opposite side.
There we go. Thanks, man. We've got 24 people with us now, which is lovely. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And of course, please head over to Alberto's AllJuveCast so that you can subscribe there. As I always say, if you're going to get any sort of information or news from your rivals, make sure you get it from over there. Let's talk a little bit about these lineups, because if I were you, I'd be licking your lips. I like Matteo Darmian more than anybody. Like, Matty Darms is my guy, and I think everybody's surprised with how Acerbi is going this season. And ignore the fact that Handanovic is there. I guarantee you Onana is there. I'm pretty sure this happened last time we were on camera as well,
Yeah.
with the predicted lineups. But with Skriniar doing whatever he's doing, we don't know if his injuries are legit or if he's just being a pain in the ass at this point and a stubborn dude. With Bastoni being out for what looks to be a bare minimum 3 weeks to 3.5 weeks, this is a great chance for your attack to run a few rings around our defense. Denzel Dumfries will obviously have to start in that position for us. Barella, Hakan, and Henrik Mkhitaryan will make up the midfield unless Simone Inzaghi chooses to put Brozovic in that anchor role and shift Hakan up where Mkhitaryan would rather be. I haven't had any issues with Mkhitaryan this season. I know that sometimes he can be a little slow off the mark, but at the end of the day, I don't believe that you can be cranky at players that hit a certain age that are busting their ass and have that old school style mentality, and they're being asked to do more than they should, Berto. DiMarco's coming back from injury. I don't know if he'll play 90 minutes. I don't think he'll even get 65, 70. And our attacks day is as good as guess as anybody's, including yours, bro. Who the hell knows what is going to happen with our attack? You can go through your side, man. I've just gone through mine, and then we can switch it up and talk about what we think about each other's.
Yeah, for sure. So I think there's question marks about Rugani or Gatti. And I think, honestly, whichever one of them starts is going to be on the side of Bremer. And I think that's crucial for Juventus to make sure that Bremer's in the heart of those three back there. And we saw it against Freiburg yesterday, where he just does so well at cleaning up behind the guys at either side of him. And he was huge with intervention. So I think that's going to be, there is a question mark there that I'm hearing between Gatti and Rugani. Gun to my head, personally, I'd probably go with Rugani, because for the past season and whenever he's called upon this season, he's been reliable. But Gatti put in a great performance out of nowhere yesterday against Freiburg, so he might actually get the nod again. Yeah. In terms of the wing backs, De Sciglio on one side, this guy, I don't know what it is with Max Allegri and De Sciglio. He just freaking loves the guy. It's unbelievable. He's the only player this season that came back after a long session out with injury, whatnot, and immediately is placed into the lineup. Everybody else had integration period, and De Sciglio was just like, you're my boy, get the hell in there. And I don't get it. But I will say this, with the way Cuadrado has regressed and whatnot, there's not a huge separation there between the two, if I'm being quite honest. Kostic is huge for this Juventus. So Kostic being out there, that's where we're going to be pushing. That is going to be another battle, Dumfries and Kostic on that side. That's going to be big. De Sciglio would probably get the nod over Cuadrado and whatnot. Obviously, DiMarco is going to be someone we're going to have to keep tabs on, try and contain, and that's probably why he's going to lean on De Sciglio versus Cuadrado. In the middle of the park, that's our best three. Rabiot, Locatelli, Fagioli. It's brought us the most balance, and look for them to work in as a pivot with Locatelli and Rabiot, and Fagioli will be the one pushing forward, and Di Maria will have kind of like this free roaming role, but Fagioli getting up, he's starting to get more and more involved in the attack, and that's going to be crucial for us because Vlahovic, meanwhile, yes, he's not hitting strides like we want, but he is isolated and has been on an island for most of the season. So this is going to be an interesting one, man. You got battles all over the place. Yeah. So it's going to be very, very interesting. As far as what could change, I don't think a whole bunch from Juve's standpoint. Chiesa will be coming off the bench. Milik is rumored to potentially be getting into the squad list, but same thing. He wouldn't be at any kind of starting point or anything like that. So, yeah, this is very, very close. I would expect maybe one change from this and what we see on Sunday.
Yeah, we could still see DiMarco out, as Ian Kerr is saying in the chat, but with Gosens out as well, like we would be very, very depleted on that left-hand side there
Yeah.
after that. So we are a little bit banged up and bruised at the moment, but it is a derby and we're at home, so I still expect it to be an extremely cagey game, which I think we might have even said this last time, but both managers wouldn't hate a draw at the end of this fixture. Last time you guys were just really punished us in that second half for not putting away those chances. Denzel Dumfries couldn't shoot a basketball any worse than he tried to tap that ball in the first game against us, man. So it is what it is. I'm still looking forward to it. We've got 30 people with us now. It was nice to hit 30 live viewers. Thank you very much to everybody. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you're new, and head over to the AllJuveCast. For me, I really think that the threats from you guys are just going to come from Angel Di Maria, because he is just such a classy footballer, man. I thought that at the end of winning the World Cup, he'd be guilty of just taking a step back and going, you know what, I'll play, I'll give 70% and whatever. But who knows, maybe he is just giving 70% and he's just world class. He's just one of those tier A players, but good for Angel Di Maria.
So start of the year, we were pretty frustrated with Angel. And I'm telling you, after that World Cup, it was the opposite of same thing. Like, you're thinking maybe he's done. Like, he's just going to be like, okay, that's it. I'm in cruise control, won the World Cup. But man, it's the opposite. This guy's been fired up and on fire since the World Cup, and he's been crucial for us. So Di Maria very much going to be the one we're going to lean on to pull the strings and whatnot. It's just a matter of making it work with the other guys, mainly Kostic, and getting enough support close enough to Vlahovic. That's the one thing. When Di Maria does play there, it's because he drops so far back, essentially into our midfield, sometimes behind it to get the ball and get in control. It actually plays out a lot differently than when we have one of the standard guys next to Vlahovic, like say Meretti even, because couple games ago, we saw Meretti and Fagioli, and it was almost like we had two supporting players with Vlahovic, and it made a big difference. So things change with Di Maria, and it could be obviously you get a big boost in terms of quality because Di Maria is world class, but it changes things for Vlahovic, and it might make things a little bit easier for you guys to kind of double team him and isolate him, right? So it's going to be interesting to see. But guys, if he's getting doubled up, again, that's where these other guys have to take advantage. So Kostic is going to be big for us, and even Rabios been on a tear lately and whatnot. So that's been the one thing with Juve is Adrian Rabios' play is like, I don't know, just out of nowhere this season. And everybody was saying, okay, it's a couple games. Well, it turned into 10 games, turned into a month, turned into 2 months, turned into so far the entire season, one of our most consistent. So hey,
so where do you stand on the contract situation then? Because he's not going to ask for peanuts.
Too much money, in my opinion.
Too much,
like at the end of the day, like, and we had a good discussion about it today on the pod. It's like, man, he's great in terms of he's always available. He's got incredible energy, great work rate, and he's physical, and he's really strong technically too. So it's a challenging one because it's hard to find a guy that's that like physical and a presence in there that has that much work rate that's always available. That's also as good technically. That's the kicker. But if I keep coming back to 8 to 9 million euros and I look at the scale on our team, and I can't justify that 8 or 9 mil, man, for Rabiot. I just think it's high. It's not like super high, but it's a little bit more than I'd like to be spending on him, right? So it's a tough one. 10 mil when they are talking about 10 mil with bonuses on top, that's just absolutely no. Like, no. 8, you can talk about it, you could think about it a little more, but it's still a little high for my liking.
Yeah, I would agree there. I like this comment from my mate Matt Pickham. Expect Juve to dominate field position, but Inter to counter. It suits us, and that's the case, and that's what I expect the game to be. Am I confident? Not necessarily, because I really do think that one of our heads are still in the Champions League against Porto. But I do feel optimistic that we will not lose the game. So what I want to do is I want us to both give our opinions. And then what I want people to do is to drop your questions in the chat for Alberto. You've got a very genuine, honest Juventini here that runs his own channel. Drop your questions in because I've got a couple for him as well. So I'm going to go my favorite scoreline in the world, 1-1. $9 to $9.50. That's what it'll pay. That's for damn sure. 1-1. I'm going to go with that. I think that we score first and you guys score second because you'll need to push a little bit harder. If you guys score first against us, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Will we concede? Because if we concede, wins aren't on our side this season when we concede. So I'm thinking potentially 1-1 draw, or somebody sneaks it out potentially 2-1. And can you see, maybe does one of these teams go up 2 and then the other score 1? I don't know. It's going to be tight, because that's the thing with form. It never really matters in these games.
No.
Form kind of goes out the window, and it always becomes same thing. It's cagey and it's heated, and usually becomes a battle in the middle. I think we're gonna edge it, man. I think we're gonna edge it 2-1. I got a 2-1 feeling in this one. So
I'm gonna hold you to it. I'm gonna hold you to it, man.
Yeah, well, you know what? Last time we had a little wager, and I just couldn't do it. I did a couple days. Good call. A couple days. I just couldn't do it any more than that. But you should take the 2. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take the 2. I'll take
the 2 days. That was good. It was a fun wager. But yeah, maybe we'll see if we come up with something for this one that's not like a week was just too much. We should have done better, because there's no way a week we can do that. So
I wanted to get to some questions for you. Well, I answered mine, the Rabios one. What I did want to say was, like, because we've had so much of our background shit going on this season, our rivalry's sort of taken the back seat. You had your part domestically at the start of the season. We were both out of the Scudetto race by the turn of the new year to a Napoli side. You've had your dramas in court. We've had Milan Skriniar wear the armband and then ditch us for a free contract. We've got constant questions of whether or not Inzaghi is the right manager or if he has reached his ceiling. So there's just been so much going on. I feel like, but there's still so much to come. I think people are also forgetting that we have to play each other in the Coppa Italia as well. So my question to you is, how do you think the Coppa Italia is going to go, putting this match aside? And then we'll get to 2 or 3 questions for you in the chat.
I think because of the uncertainty, we will see Max and Juve go more all in on that than we will the league games. To be honest, like, we're still obviously going to be full go in all competitions we're in, but I think that Coppa Italia one becomes big for the back door into obviously Europa, right? So that's going to be big. Like, Juve's got to get into the European comps, right? Europa League presents that opportunity into champs, which will become huge for us too. So I think when it comes to those, the league, I get this feeling like Max is banking on the 15 coming back and managing to, just be in that 4 and keep things safe and kosher and whatnot. And I think we're going all in for the Copa and Europa.
Question for you from my friend and channel member Mattia. Will Vlahovic leave at the end of the season? What's the consensus with the fans?
We got mixed feelings on that one at the AllJuveCast. So Anth over there.
Who's on Team Vlahovic out? Cash in.
So Anthony with us. Anth thinks that there's no way Vlahovic is leaving, whatnot. I personally think that Vlahovic is leaving in the summer. Everything we're hearing from Juve's camp is they absolutely do not want to lose Vlahovic, and they have no interest in selling. However, obviously, if offers come, and there's a lot of rumors about teams that are going to be coming in for him, I don't really know. Right now, it really depends on how the season finishes for Juve and what our competitions are next season. Because if you've got an established big side with a good project that all of a sudden comes knocking for Vlahovic, I could see him wanting to go. But there's a little bit of a kicker here. And the thing is that Vlahovic has taken a lot of heat. He's taken a lot of heat for performances and all this and everything. And I think there's an opportunity there for the team to start backing this guy. And if they do it properly, it might want him to show some faith in them and stick around. Because now we're getting the same thing out of Di Maria, for instance. Coming in all season, it was like, oh, he's leaving. He's only here for 1 year. But now it's like, hey, I really like it at this club. My family's happy in Turin and all this. Like, I don't think I want to leave. Now we're hearing Rabiot after all this, going to chase the money, all this. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to say so. It's really anybody's guess right now. There's a lot that still has to be determined, but right now, my gut is telling me if one of those teams comes knocking, unless things drastically change from here on out, and depending where we finish, I think Vlahovic might actually take one of those other projects.
Yeah, fair call. Would you switch Allegri for Inzaghi?
Oh God, pick your poison for me.
Yeah.
I think I would answer it with something we already covered earlier, and that's in the moment, in the circumstances, I don't think there was anybody better than Max Allegri for Juve.
Yeah.
So with the circumstances that we faced, I don't like he's exactly what we needed. That was a guy that manages the dressing room and manages the situations, the table, the points, everything. If you're talking about coaching and on the pitch and stuff, I still would probably lean there. I've always had, I don't know, I've never really been high on Inzaghi, and he was rumored to come to us when we went away from Max before, and I immediately said no, that I wouldn't want. But I want to get your thoughts on Inzaghi. How do you feel about Inzaghi?
I think that, and I was very vocal about this up until a really bad January against some very poor opponents, that I think he was doing a great job. He was managing like a similar situation to Allegri, obviously not to such a legal magnitude, but so much background noise, too much background noise. Like, you can't focus in a football season when all of this shit is going on, when your ownership is pumping no money into the club. Everybody on your squad roster knows you could be next on the chopping block and sacrificed. The camaraderie is not at a high point in our team and hasn't been for a while. So when you take all of these things into account, and when you get drawn into the group of death and you come out of it and now you're in the quarterfinals, it's easy to make a case for Inzaghi doing a great job, a fantastic job. But at the same time, celebrating just getting to the quarterfinals, this isn't technically what you or I would expect of our clubs. We need to all understand that we are batting below expectations at this point. Yeah. Both of us are. Everybody in Serie A is bar Napoli, basically. So having said that, dropping points to Monza, Empoli, Sampdoria, Bologna, all away from home in a short amount of time, it's just not good enough domestically. I guess the question remains here is now, it really depends on how we finish the season. He's on a tipping point at the moment. You get to a semi-final and finish in the top 4, you've earned yourself another season, in my opinion. And I don't think anybody can argue that. And, you know, God forbid you make it to the final of the Coppa Italia at the expense of your biggest rival, he'll have an even stronger case to make. You get eliminated by Benfica, and then you really either don't make top 4 or you struggle right until, you know, the last days, like Spalletti did back to back, and you send us all into cardiac arrest for a good 94 minutes. I don't know if we're going to want to go through that again, my guy.
Man, well, thank God we started getting results, because for God's sakes, we were in a position where the team was doing terrible at the start of the year, and we know that they weren't going to get rid of him because it cost Juve 60 million to cut ties with Max Allegri. Yep. So we're sitting here like, Jesus, you've got to figure this out or we're screwed, like absolutely screwed. So, hey, at least he's getting results now and stuff. But in the future, for me, again, there's a separation between manager and coaching. Yeah. And this season, at the start, we needed the coaching more. But with everything that went down and how it started going, and then, of course, the investigations, all that, then we needed the manager. But in the future, I'm still not quite sure that Max is the one for us to be moving forward with. And I know that you can present this strong case for what he's done, but still, we hit a point where you could have easily fired this guy. Yeah. And when you start thinking about the switch to 3-5-2, you start thinking about Fagioli coming in there. There was nothing stopping him from using Fagioli earlier on in the season. Our midfield was screaming for a guy with his abilities. Instead, he kept going to McKennie and force-feeding Weston McKennie down our throats. And it's like, get this guy out of there. He's doing nothing. He's terrible. And all of a sudden, boom, Fagioli picks it up. The second McKennie becomes available, Max puts him right back in there. And I always have this thing that the guys he trusts and wants to die by. Like, it's this weird thing that he just can't shake. But maybe we are finally seeing some change, because now, Barnechea has pretty much benched Paredes in a rotational role behind Locatelli. And that was a big call from him, because Max, that was his pick. That was his hand-picked guy. No, we're going to send Rovella away. I want to bring this guy in on 7 million, and he's failed miserably. And now we're calling to a 21-year-old or whatever, 20-year-old to get the job done in behind Locatelli, and he's done a great job. So credit to Barnechea. So maybe, just maybe, Max has been changing, but it's too early for me to feel confident with him moving forward. I still need to see more, and I need to see an offense with Vlahovic and Di Maria and whatever. I need to see us getting goals consistently, like not struggling to score one goal in a game where the other team is toothless and getting only one or two opportunities, and we still can't find like the net more than once. So I need to see way more from Max. But I will say, to his credit, this season, he has been what we've needed through the nonsense. So
fair. Thank you so much to Rick Aussie 77 for the donation. I really appreciate it. A salute to Al in Canada, and from the Inter fans, to the Inter fans from the Juventus official fan club in Melbourne. That's very, very nice of you, bro.
He's an absolute beauty. So
do you know him from your channel?
A class move from Ricardo there, and grazie for the saluti, brother. Talked to him this morning on our live, and thank you I see a few in the chat that are coming over from our side, and here's one that isn't a beauty, but no, that's Anthony Skega from our crew. Love seeing this guy too. So yeah, props to everybody that's joined in. The Reno from Vancouver, I see him in there. That's great stuff. So if you guys get your information from Rivals, this is the channel, and I always say that on ours too. So I love it.
Awesome. Well, there it is. You couldn't have said it any better. And once again, thanks to Rick Aussie. Not only am I chuffed with the donation altogether, but to get it from a Juve fan and an Aussie fan as well, that just makes my day. So thank you so much. And thank you to my friend Alberto for coming on. You enjoy your Friday night. And it's just always great teeing up, man. We're going to speak real soon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we're definitely going to do something for Copa, and we're going to have you come over to our side. I've jumped into what I call the snake pit many times. It's time to get you over here with us on the AllJuveCast. But it's always an absolute pleasure, man. And hey, come Sunday, friends off, okay, till that 90's done, and we'll see what happens and where the dust settles. But I expect a dogfight out there.
100%. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us today on Inter Worldwide, and I will check in with you guys post Derby d'Italia against Juve. Grazie. Ciao.